Hello good day viewers. Into this tutorial we are going to see the superposition theorem. In the last video we talked about the neurons, the Thevenin's and Thevenin voltage and Thevenin equivalent. If you want the topics you can check the description of the video. You will see the playlist of circuit analysis. So how can we solve this kind of problem? The problem says we have to find a V0. So we have to first know the superposition theorem. If suppose we are asked to find the V0. So as we all know, we are short-circuiting what? We are short-circuiting the voltage, and therefore we are open-circuit the current. So again in this problem, we are going to the first thing that we are going to do, we have to open-circuit the current. After open-circuit the current, we will first find what? We will first find the V0 prime. So after short-circuiting this, we are going to first find the current. If we find the current, because we all know V0, it is equals to I what? It is equals to IR. So after then, we have to multiply with what? With this 20 ohm resistance. And we have to first find the current. So now, we are going to short-circuit the current and find another current so that we can find what? The B0 The B0 prime. So after then, we have to after open-circuit this, we have to short-circuit what? We have to short-circuit the voltage. After short-circuiting this voltage, and then we have to find another current, which we are going to find with the B0 prime 2, so that it will give me what? So that I will end up with the new current I multiplied by my what? By the resistance. So the next thing is that I have to sum this. I have to say B0 should now be equals to B0 prime plus what? Plus B0 second prime, so that I will get what? So that I will get the value of this what? B0. So this is how superposition is. If you are given a circuit, you can first open-circuit the current, then find another current to find voltage. If you are asked to find voltage, and therefore short-circuit voltage. After short-circuit voltage, then use the current to find what? To find another current in order to find your second what? Your second V, so that you can sum them. But if you are asked to find current, again the same thing, but you are going to find what? Voltage, because I it is equals to V over R. The resistance is already there, so therefore you are going to find V. First voltage if you open circuit current, and therefore the next thing you are going to short circuit voltage and find another voltage, so that you can find I prime and I second prime. So this is all on superposition theorem. So let's see this question. The question says that we are to find the value of B0. So if we take a look to the circuit, we have the dependent and we have dependent and independent source here. Because as we can see here is dependent source. This is an independent source. So if we take a look to the circuit, we have Ix, and therefore we have what? We have 0.4 Vy. It is also a current, and we have what? We have dependent current here. So the first thing that we are going to do, we have to open circuit this current. If I open circuit this current, or let me just clean it. I know I have this, and I have current. So if I open circuit this, I have 5 amp. So whenever I open circuit this, what next? If I open circuit this, there is no current that is flowing through what? Through this, because I open circuit it. So therefore, it means that the current through here, it is leaving this node. So therefore, this is leaving, so therefore let me call this I1, because I have two current here. The current Ix, let's call this as I1. Let me call this as what? As my I2. The current it is going through this node, through this V0. Yes, this current it is going, because it is coming from here to here. But why the current it is leaving this, coming to V0? So therefore this I1 should now be equals to what? Should now be equals to Ix. And therefore this I2, because it is leaving this junction, it will now be what? It will now be negative 0.4 what? 0.4 Vy. So what next? The next thing is that, so now, since since I open circuit this current, so therefore I have to what? I have to open circuit this again. The reason is that if I open circuit this, my I2 should now become 0. So therefore I may be able to what? To find I1, because whenever I open circuit this, so this circuit, there is no current that is flowing this circuit because it is an open circuit. I'm just only left with what? With this circuit. So for now, if I said I know that I have this, I have this, I have this, I have 0.4 Vy what? This is I2. So I have to what? I have to open circuit this. Have to open circuit it. Open circuit. So after open circuit this, as you can see, this is I2. So for now, I2 should automatically be what? 0. And therefore I have to use the mesh analysis, mesh current analysis in this one, in this mesh 1. So therefore this voltage should now be positive, because from negative to positive, when you identify, first if you identify the voltage as positive or negative, so then you have to what? You have to sum the what? You have to sum your resistance. So therefore let me take a look to this resistance. This 20 and this, because there is no more current that is passing through here. So this resistance are what? They are in series. So it will now be what? Equals to 20 what? 25 I1. So therefore, if I divide both sides by what? By 25, divide both sides by 25, 25 will cancel 25. So therefore, the I1 should now be equals to, if I say 10 divided by this, I think it will give me what? 0, I think it is 0.4. But let me check it. If I say 10 divided by what? 25, yes, it will give me 0.1, 0.4. So the next thing that I'm going to do is that I have to take a look to that and say, if I'm looking for B0, let's say V0 prime should now be equals to what? 20 multiplied by I. So what is the value of I? This is the value of I1. So therefore the V0 prime should now be equals to 20 multiplied by the I, which is 0.4. So therefore the V0 prime should now be equals to 20 multiplied by this. 20 multiplied by 0.4 should now be what? 8. This is 8 voltage. So as you can see, we first find what? We first find the what? V naught prime as what? As 8 voltage. So the next thing that I'm going to do is that I have to first keep my circuit as it is. So I all know that here is what? I have what? I have a current here. I have a current of 5 amps, and therefore also here I have what? Have a dependent source of what? 0.4 Vy. This is I2. Let me clean it. So as you can see from here, what we do is that we first open circuit the current and find the value of what? B0 prime. So the next we are going to short circuit the what? We are going to short circuit this voltage. So we all know that, let me clean this. We all know that we have what? We have 10 voltage here, we have plus and negative, we have 10 voltage. So for here, if I short circuit this, if I short circuit this, what should I going to do next? Next thing that I'm going to do here is that, let me call this as what? As 1. Let's call this as what? 2. Let's call this as 3. Let's call this as 4. And here we are going to find the current that we are going to find what? We are going to find the current that we will use it to find again this V prime, so that we can sum them and get our what? Our value of B0. This is what I mean. So I have to use the nodal analysis. Let me call this V1, let me call this V2, and let me call this V3 and what? And V4. So from node 1, I have to say that if I say V1, this is the same thing as V1, this is the same thing as V2, this same thing as what? V4, this same thing as V3. But you have to know that V4 is what? Is a reference node. It's a reference what? reference node. So the next thing that I'm going to do is that I have to say this V1 minus what? V1 minus V4 divided by the value of what? 5 amps of currents. So the next thing that I'm going to, I have to say V1 minus V4. I have to say this minus what? Okay, sorry, plus V1 minus what? Minus V4 divided by the value of the 20. Yeah. There is one thing that I need to tell you. If you check the description of this video, that I pasted a link of what? Circuit analysis. You can see that if we are going to use the nodal analysis between the voltage and voltage, or let me say between current and current, because this is a current. Because current is the same as V over what R. Current are what? Are adding. I'm going to add them together. So therefore I have to say this V1 minus V2, there is no any addition here. And therefore after then, between this and this, it must be positive. Unless if you are given current, so that if the current it is coming through the junction, it is positive. If it is going out through the junction, it is negative. Let me show you. So we have V1 and what? V2. But this is a current. So therefore the current it is going through this node, so it should now be positive. So this will now be what? 0.4 Vy. So the next thing, I said that V4 is the same thing as what? Is the same thing as 0. So I have to say V1 divided by 5 plus what? This is 0. Plus V1 again divided by 20 should now be equals to what? 0.4 Vy. So this is the same thing as if I factor out the value of V1, this should now be 1 over 5 plus V1 over what? 20. Yes, you all agree with this. So this should now be equals to 0.4 Vy. The next thing is that I have to say what is the LCM between this and this? The LCM between this and this 20 can go. 20 into 5, it will give me what? 20 into 5, it will give me 4. It will give me 4. So therefore I will say 4 plus what? 20 into 20, which is 1. 1 multiplied by, okay, sorry, I have 1 here. 1 multiply 20 into 20, 1. 1 multiplied by 1, which is 1, should now be equals to 0.4 Vy. V1, it is equals to what? I have 5 over 20 here. Yes, we all know that. So therefore, this should now be 5 over 20. It is equal to 0.4 Vy. So I'm looking for what? I'm looking for B1. So if I said, let me multiply both sides by what? By 20. By 20. 20 will go with 20. So at the end, I will have what? 5B1. If I multiply this by this, I will get what? 5B1. This should now be equals to. If I said 20 multiplied by 0.4, what should I get? 20. Let me say 20 multiplied by 0.4. So this should now give me what? This should now give me 8. So therefore, I will end with what? 8 Vy. So let me clean this. So therefore, at the end, I'm looking for B1. If I say divide both sides by what? Divide both sides by 5. 5 will cancel 5. So at the end, V1 should now be equals to 8 Vy divided by 5. V1 should now be equals to this divided by 6. This divided by this. 8 divided by 5, it will give me 1.6 Vy. But let me check it. 5 divided by 5, it will give me 1.6. So therefore, the value of V1 should now be what? 1.6 Vy. Let me call this as equation 1. Yes, equation 1. But because the board it is very small, let me just write the first equation and let's move to the what? To the node 2, or whether we can see how we can find the second equation. V1 is equal to 1.6 Vy as what? Known as equation 1. So what is the next thing to do? The next thing that I'm going to do here is that I have to take a look to what? To node 2. That I have to take a look to this node 2. Node 2 V2 minus what? Minus V3. And V2 minus V3, V2 minus V3 is the same thing as what? As Vy. So I should now say V2 minus V3 divided by what? 10, and is the same thing as Vy. I can remove this and put By. So this should now be equal to the current going through this node, it will now be positive 5, and the current leaving this node should now be minus 0.4 Vy. What next? Let me just make it to be what? Let me just make this to be Vy. So this should now be divided by 10, and it will be equals to negative, 5 minus 0.4 Vy. Let me multiply both through by 10. If I multiply by 10, 10 will go with 10. Therefore, By should now be 10. 10 multiplied by this should now get what? 50. And therefore, if I say 10 multiplied by 0.4, this should now be 4 minus 4 Vy. So I should now change this to what? I should now turn back to it. V2 minus V3 is same thing as Vy. So let me delete this. I said no, 2 should now be what? V2 minus V3 is the same thing as Vy. So therefore this should now be equals to what? 50 minus 4 Vy as what? Equation 2. So what is the next thing to do? The next thing that I'm going to do, I have to take a look to what? To node 3. Node 3, node 3, node 3. So let me move to node 3. If I take a look to node 3, I have V3 minus V4. I'll say, let me change it. So I have to say V3 minus what? Minus V4 should now be what? But V3 minus V4, it is the same thing as what? 2ix. And therefore, I all know that V4 is the same thing as 0. Yes, as I said, the reference node. So therefore, V3 should now be equal to 2ix. Yes. So I have to take a look to what? To this V2 and what? V3 and V2. But I have V3 and what? V2. But as usual, from the node 2, I said V2 is the same thing as this. So therefore, I will say V3 is V2 minus 3 should now be equals to what? Is the same thing as Vy. So I will use this instead of what? Instead of this. So the next thing to do is that I have to say I have a value of V2. But what is V3? It is negative 2ix. It is equals to what? Vy. So the next thing that I'm going to do, this should now be what? I should say V2 should now be equals to, I'll make the V2 subject of the formula. It will become Vy plus what? Plus 2ix as what? As equation 3. So this is a sad equation. So the next thing to do is that, let me clean this. The next thing to do, I should now check what? I should now take a look to equation 2. Equation 2, I have what? This is the same thing as what? It is the same thing as Vy. Vy should now be equals to what? 50 minus what? Minus 4 Vy. So I have to keep down 50, and therefore this should now be equals to, when negative 4 Vy cross the equal sign, it will now be what? It will now be Vy plus what? Plus 4 Vy. So therefore 50, it is the same thing as this plus, it will give me 5 Vy. If I divide both sides by what? 5 by 5. So therefore Vy should now be equal to this divided by this. It will give me what? 10. So therefore Vy is the same thing as what? Is the same thing as 10. So as you can see, I have to say, so let me just take a look to this equation 1. V1, it is the same thing as what? Yeah, it is the same thing as 1.6 multiplied by what? Multiplied by By, because I'm looking for 8. So therefore, the V1 should now be equals to 1.6 multiplied by 10. I think it will give me 16. So therefore, this should now be 16 volts. There is something that I need to tell you. You can also say that to find this Vy, it is equals to 10. You can say Vy should now be equals to what? Okay, let me say 50. Let me say 50 should not, because this Vy, it is equals to 50 minus 4 Vy, it turns to this. So therefore 50 should now be equals to what? I have what? 4Vy. This is the same thing as writing this, plus what? Plus By. But I say that 50, it is equals to 4Vy plus this Vy. Vy is the same thing as what? As V2 minus V3. Yes, this is the easiest way. So, the next thing is that I have 50, it is equals to, this is 4Vy, 4Vy. What is V2? V2 is the same thing as what? Plus what? Plus By plus what? Okay, plus 2Ix, and therefore minus B3. And we all know that we have V what? We have B4. Okay, we have V3 minus V4 here. V3 minus B4 is the same thing as 2Ix, and this is 0. V3, it is equal to 2Ix. So therefore, this is what? 2Ix. This will go with this. So therefore, 50 should now be equals to 5Vy. Divide both sides by 5. Divide both sides by 5 will cancel 5. Vy should now be equals to 10. So therefore, if you need to waste your time, you can use this. So the next thing that I'm going to do, I have to find, I already find the V, not prime should now be equal to 16. So the next thing to do is that I have to sum them. So therefore, V0 should now be equal to V0 prime plus what? Plus B0 second prime. So V0 should now be equal to this. What shall I say? I will say 8 plus 16. 8 plus 16 is what? So therefore, x plus 16, it is 24. So therefore, 24 volts. So therefore, this is all I have for you for today. I hope this question, it is more understandable and clear to you. And don't forget to subscribe to this YouTube channel for more interesting videos. And don't forget to share to your learning colleagues so that they will learn more about the superposition theorem. Thanks you for watching. Have a nice day.